Part 45. Dimensional Chosen, Only I Know Saitama is the Strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 441. After Fangya entered the passage, he found that it was a narrow corridor. Walking further inside, there are skeleton soldiers wearing armor, holding big swords in their hands and wandering around without an owner. But at the very end, there was this elite monster. He was wearing heavy armor and holding a huge machete in his hand. He looked very vicious. And behind the elite monster is the second floor of the cathedral. He is King Leoric's skeleton subordinate, the royal executioner. It seems that only by killing it can you enter the second floor of the cathedral. Thinking of this, Fangya immediately used his fire power and rushed towards the royal executioner and the skeleton attendants. Blazing flame. Fangya fired balls of fire from his hands and slammed them at the skeleton guards. Moreover, Fangya's attack speed was extremely fast, and he had knocked down dozens of guards in an instant, but the royal executioner was unscathed. On the other side, the skeleton men were also attracted by Fangya's attack and turned to stare at Fangya. This can't continue like this. We must kill that elite skeleton monster as soon as possible, otherwise I will be surrounded by these skeleton attendants. Thinking of this, Fangya quickly used his fire power to construct a flaming sword and slashed at the royal executioner. It has to be said that flame is the nemesis of these undead creatures. Fangya's flaming sword was accompanied by high temperatures, and the defense of the skeleton attendants was not strong. With one strike of the sword, almost all of them turned into charcoal. And this angered the royal executioner. It roared and rushed towards Fangya, and the huge machete fell towards Fangya. Seeing this situation, Fangya ignored the rest and used his footwork to dodge. At the same time, he stabbed with the flaming sword and started fighting with the royal executioner. The royal executioner held a huge machete. Every time he swung it, it was like a meteor, with overwhelming force and amazing power. However, these did no harm to Fangya at all, because the power of the two was not at the same level at all. Fangya also gradually figured out the moves of the royal executioner, and knew how to kill his opponent as quickly as possible. His flaming sword was spinning and flying in his hand, and the flaming sword energy was shot at the royal executioner, making it impossible for the royal executioner to get close to him. In fact, if Fangya wanted to, he could quickly defeat this royal executioner within 3 moves. However, he is now studying his fire powers. Due to his long-term use of fire powers, he now has a great grasp of the fire powers. It is no longer like before, simply releasing flame fists or flame bombs. Now he is familiar with more advanced mimicry skills, which is to use flames to construct various weapons or creatures. For example, this flaming sword was constructed using mimicry in time. After Fangya was almost familiar with it and had mastered the entire flame mimicry skill, he decided not to delay it any longer. He spotted the flaw in the royal executioner's move, swung the flaming sword fiercely, and chopped off the royal executioner's head. Moreover, Fangya also took advantage of the victory to pursue, and while cutting off the head of the royal executioner, he also killed the rest of the skeleton attendants. The royal executioner lost his head, shook his body, and immediately fell to the ground, dead. But Fangya didn't stop at all and continued running towards the depths of the hall. This is the second floor of the cathedral. The second floor of the cathedral is a very wide space with many buildings, but these buildings are very ordinary. As soon as Fangya got off the second floor of the cathedral, he was attacked by countless skeleton archers. Psychological barrier. Fangya opened his hand, and a transparent mental barrier appeared in front of him. Countless arrows shot at it, but they were unable to break through Fangya's mental barrier at all. However, these skeleton archers still continued to throw out skeleton arrows. The dense skeleton arrows were like locusts crossing the border, overwhelming the sky and sweeping towards Fangya. Under so many skull and bone arrows, the mental barrier made a jingling ding-dong-dong sound. These skeleton archers should be King Leoric's loyal guards. It seems that the only way to kill them is to kill them first. When Fang Ye thought of this, endless fighting spirit immediately surged in his heart, and he swung the flaming sword in his hand quickly. A flash of fire flashed, and the heads of 4 or 5 skeleton archers were pierced by Fang Ye's flaming sword, and their bodies exploded. The remaining skeleton archers dispersed one after another as they looked at the corpses burned to ashes by the flames. Do these skeleton archers feel a little weak? Fang Ye looked at the scene around him and thought to himself. At this moment, several more Dark Reaper creatures appeared in front of Fang Ye. Fang Ye naturally said nothing and rushed towards them with his flaming sword. And he also noticed that the strength of these Reapers was only equivalent to that of ordinary elites. Fang Ye swung his flaming sword and knocked down several more Reapers. After the death of these Reapers, 3 or 4 more demon boys emerged from their bodies and rushed towards Fang Ye. It's really troublesome, even if you die, it won't make people worry. Fang Ye shook his head, and he struck out with his sword again, killing these demon boys as well. The second floor of this cathedral is different from the first floor. There are just some simple low-level monsters, but there are just a lot of them. So Fang Ye just spent a little time and directly got through the second floor of the cathedral and arrived at the third floor of the cathedral. When Fang Ye just entered the third floor of the cathedral, he suddenly heard a cry for help. Help! Help! Fang Ye hurriedly looked around and saw a group of cultists performing evil magic on a man, as if they wanted to use dark power to corrupt the man. It's a Templar. Fang Ye was overjoyed. This man is one of Diablo's 3 minions and has good healing and defensive magic. It can be said to be a good helper. Help me, stranger. When the Templars saw Fang Ye, they hurriedly shouted for help. Good. Don't be afraid, I will save you right away. As Fang Ye spoke, he quickly rushed over, brandishing his flaming sword, and stabbed the cultist who looked like the leader among them. Seeing this, the cultist quickly withdrew his magic, turned around and fled the place. As soon as the leader cultist escaped, the rest of the cultists immediately dispersed. Fang Ye ignored these people and continued running towards the Templar warrior. Seeing this, the Templar warrior was overjoyed and shouted to Fang Ye quickly, "Save me! Help me! I was tricked into coming here by these cultists. They wanted to use evil magic to invade my soul. Fortunately, I met you." What? Fang Ye couldn't help but be startled when he heard this. Aren't you a Templar? How could you be deceived by cultists to get here? The Templar immediately explained, I am here because of a traitor to the order. His name is Joda. He betrayed our order and took refuge with the creatures of darkness. Stranger, I implore you to assist me in retrieving my gear and defeating the traitor to the order, Jorda. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 442. After hearing this, Fang Ye couldn't help but be overjoyed. The task is here, as long as you help this Templar, you can gain his trust and make him his follower. So Fang Ye agreed immediately. Okay, I will do my best to assist you. After hearing this, the Templar Knight showed a happy smile on his face. He looked at his surroundings and continued to ask, Stranger, what is your name? Why do you come to this whole place? My name is Fang Ye, and I came here to save Deckard Cain, who was captured by the Skeleton King. Fang Ye replied. So that's it, then our goals are the same. I came here also for the Skeleton King. Fang Ye nodded. In fact, he already knew it. Don't worry, I will definitely help you find your equipment and catch that Joda. Fang Ye said. After hearing this, the Templar Knight quickly thanked Fang Ye. Then he led the way and took Fang Ye towards the stairs. Soon, Fang Ye came to a room. The number of monsters in this place is even smaller, only 30 or 40, and their highest strength is only at the peak elite level. However, These 30 or 40 monsters are distributed in every corner. Although there are many of them, their movements are very clumsy. They seem to be manipulated puppets and do not have any attack power. Instead, they seem to be manipulated by some kind of monster. The power controlled the same, and the number of these puppets was increasing, and soon reached as many as 100. Such monsters pose no threat to Fangya at all, but to the Templar warrior, he doesn't dare to underestimate these monsters. After all, he doesn't even have the equipment. And among these monsters, there is this wooden box. The Templar pointed to the box and said to Fangya, "Look, my equipment is in it." "Okay, wait a moment, and I will help you after these monsters are dealt with." After Fangya finished speaking, he rushed towards the monsters. The flaming sword in his hand kept swinging, killing several monsters in an instant. These monsters were sliced open by the flaming sword and turned into a pile of charcoal. These monsters were also killed by Fangya, and the Templar warriors finally breathed a sigh of relief, with relaxed expressions on their faces. Fangya's flaming sword can not only burn everything, but also everything, including all evil creatures. Under his sword, these monsters have no chance to resist his offensive. With just one sword, these monsters can be completely killed. And when the Templar warrior saw how powerful Fangya was, he couldn't help but admire him. "It's really amazing. It seems like I'm really lucky. I just met such a powerful master. Otherwise, I'm afraid he will be buried in this ghost place," the Templar said secretly thankfully. Now the situation is very clear, those dark creatures are no match for Fangya at all. It didn't take long for Fangya to wipe out all the dark creatures here. "Thank you so much, Fangya." The Templar opened the box and put on his armor. Only then did the happy man thank him. "You're welcome, let's go find the traitor Jodha now." Fangya waved his hand and said, "Well, okay, I know where that traitor Jodha is, you come with me." With that said, the Templar began to lead the way. Although his movements were clumsy, they were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the two of them arrived in front of a room. The Templar warrior stood at the door and said to Fangya, "This is it." Fangya nodded and said, "Okay, let's open the door." After saying that, he struck out with his sword. His sword energy drew a long trace in the air, and then hit the door lock hard, making a muffled sound, and the door was shattered. "Go in." The Templar waved to Fangya and entered the house first. Fangya followed closely behind. The two people walked through a narrow corridor and walked into another hall. On the walls of this hall, there are many sarcophagi hanging, and inside the sarcophagi lies one skeleton soldier after another. The skin of these skeleton soldiers is blue-purple, and their bodies are covered with black spots. Moreover, the eyes of these skeleton soldiers are blood red, and there are blazing fires burning in the eyeballs, which look very strange and terrifying. Fangya's pupils narrowed. What a powerful resentment! He couldn't help but say in surprise. "Ha ha ha, these guys are just useless trash, they are not worth mentioning, you must not be scared by them." The Templar smiled. At this time, in the darkness, a dark knight more than 3 meters tall walked over. It looked at Fangya and the Templar knights with a resentful expression. "Jodha, it turns out that you have surrendered to the Skeleton King and turned into a dark creature." The Templar pointed at the Dark Knight and said sharply, "I will judge you now and send you to hell." After saying that, the Templars showed no fear and rushed forward waving the spear in their hands. Boom! 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 The Dark Knight swung his giant sword towards the Templar. The Templar was no match at all and was immediately shocked and took a few steps back. The Dark Knight, on the other hand, stopped firmly in place, nothing happened at all. So powerful, it seems that this dark warrior is comparable to the captain level of the death world. Fangya secretly said. "You all will die." After the Dark Knight finished speaking, A tyrannical force burst out from his body and enveloped Fangya and the Templars. Obviously, the Dark Knight wanted to kill Fangya and the Templars first. Fangya knew that the Templars were no match for the entire Dark Knight, and it would be impossible for him not to take action. When he thought of it, Fangya rushed over immediately. He raised the flaming sword with both hands and slashed hard at the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight looked at Fangya with a cautious face, and faced him with a big sword in his hand. Boom! The two forces collided. Suddenly, two fire lights flickered, and both people flew out at the same time. Fangya slid on the ground for a few meters before steadying himself. Then, he immediately stood up and continued to rush towards the Dark Knight. And the Dark Knight was not idle either. He waved the big sword in his hand and struck at Fangya. Huh, do you really think I'm made of mud? Fangya snorted coldly, then waved the flaming sword in his hand to fight with the Dark Knight. The two of them were fighting inseparably, going back and forth. The Templar was hiding aside and observing Fangya's battle. He was secretly surprised when he saw that Fangya was able to fight the Dark Knight so hard, and he felt very lucky at the same time. I didn't expect that this young man had such great power, and he was willing to help me kill Jodha. What a trustworthy companion he is. He knew that despite the inseparable fight between the two, the initiative had always been in Fangya's hands. Fangya kept attacking, and the Dark Warrior could only barely defend. It can be said that no matter what, the winner must be Fangya. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 443. The Templar's guess was correct. In less than 5 minutes, the Dark Knight could no longer hold on. Fangya now has an absolute advantage, and it is only a matter of time before he defeats the Dark Knight. But at this moment, Fangya suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. This feeling is very strong. He turned around suddenly and looked to the left, only to see a strong smell of blood coming towards his face. Oh no! A hint of horror flashed through Fangya's heart. Because he found that he was attacked from behind. This is so weird. But Fangya didn't have any panic. After all, Fangya has more experience than the Dark Knight, and he also has a high level of vigilance. Fangya had encountered this kind of thing before in battle, no matter how many times. So Fangya didn't even think about who the attacker was, but immediately reacted and made the most correct judgment. Fangya knocked back the Dark Knight with one punch, then quickly turned around. Just when he turned around, Fangya was stunned, because there was already a man standing next to him. The man was handsome and slender, and he had a black coffin symbol tattooed on the back of his hand. Someone who is an agent of God. Fangya was surprised. He didn't expect to meet these people at this time. To be honest, he has always been a little strange. This dark world is obviously the sphere of influence of God's agents, but he has been here for so long without seeing anyone. I originally thought they were hiding in some unknown corner, but I didn't expect them to show up on their own initiative. Fangya narrowed his eyes slightly. Now that the God's agents had appeared, he didn't want to let them go. For them, death is their destination. Fangya, I have to say that you are really a troublesome guy. I didn't expect that even the Red Bishop would be defeated by you. It really surprised me. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the Silver Bishop, one of the many bishops of the Agent of God. The man bowed slightly and said, "It's really an honor for me to be here. This Jodha is my subordinate, so can we just let it go?" The man said politely. "No. He betrayed our order and I won't let him go." The Templar jumped out and said. Fangya didn't speak, but what the Templar just said was his own thought. Really, then it seems that there is only one battle left. Bishop Bian raised his head slightly and looked at Fangya, with fighting spirit in his eyes. Fang Ye sneered and rushed towards Bishop Bian without hesitation. Kill! Bishop Silver also rushed over brandishing his long sword. Both of them were powerful beings. They were fighting in a few moves, and the sound of fierce collisions resounded throughout the sky. The confrontation between Fang Ye and Bishop Bian was very fierce. They tried their best to fight each other, and every sword was full of domineering, and Bishop Bian also showed his true strength. The strength of the Silver Bishop is comparable to that of the previous Red Bishop, and is also comparable to Fang Ye. But in the confrontation between Fang Ye and the Silver Bishop, neither side could do anything to the other, and neither side could win the other. The two sides were at a stalemate. Both sides want to kill each other, but neither side can kill the other. There was a stalemate here for a while. Fang Ye frowned secretly. He found that the skills of the Silver Bishop in front of him were very strange. He didn't know how to use them, but they were very effective. Each sword could cause him to lose a lot of energy and blood. The same goes for Bishop Bai Yin. Although his attack power is not weaker than Fang Ye's, and can even be said to be more powerful than Fang Ye's, his defensive ability is also far inferior to Fang Ye's. The confrontation between the two lasted for half an hour, with neither one willing to take a step back. It seems that it is not possible to be serious. Fang Ye frowned, and without hesitation, he immediately launched a serious punch. I saw the wind of fists that destroyed the world and swept away, hitting Bishop Bian hard. Bishop Bian's face changed slightly and he hurriedly avoided it. But he was still too late, because he had been brushed by the wind of the fist, and his body flew backwards as if struck by lightning, fell to the ground, and slid several meters away on the ground. Snort. You are nothing more than that. Fang Ye snorted coldly, chased after him, stepped on Bishop Bian's chest, and punched him hard. Click. There was a sound of bones breaking. A huge dent appeared in Bishop Silver's chest. Bishop Bian screamed, his face full of pain. But he still didn't admit defeat. Bishop Bian gritted his teeth and immediately used his secret technique to escape from Fang Ye's control. Don't think you've defeated me, I'll show you how powerful I am. Bishop Bian said, disappearing again, and when he reappeared, he was already behind Fang Ye. The sword in his hand pierced Fang Ye's back. Fang Ye felt shocked and hurriedly moved 2 feet to the right. Only then did he avoid the blow. But Bishop Bian didn't know what he had swallowed, and his strength surged. The sword in his hand emitted powerful sword energy and stabbed Fang Ye's back again. But Fang Ye had already expected the situation, and he flashed again, and then came to the other side of Bishop Bian again, also avoiding this attack. Bishop Silver disappeared again. But Fang Ye already knew his position. He kicked his feet fiercely, jumped up, and then punched forward fiercely. Snapped. Bishop Silver was beaten until he spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was knocked away again. I have already expected this move of yours. Let me tell you, no matter what cards you have, they are of no use here, because you are no match for me at all. Fang Ye looked at Bishop Bian coldly and said. Bishop Silver said nothing. But the movements in his hands slowed down. He knew that if he wanted to attack again, it might not be that simple. How about it? Now you know you are no match for me. Fang Ye said proudly. Bishop Bian did not answer Fang Ye, but stood up silently and continued to attack Fang Ye. The sword in his hand turned into thousands of rays of light and stabbed towards Fang Ye's body densely. However, Fang Ye's body was as fast as lightning and did not give Bishop Bian's sword a chance. Bang bang bang. Bishop Bian kept attacking Fang Ye, but to no avail. How about it? Can you handle this move? Fang Ye sneered, and then rushed towards Bishop Bian again. Bishop Bian was beaten back by Fang Ye again, but he did not feel any frustration. Instead, there was a crazy fighting spirit deep in his eyes. Fang Ye didn't expect that Bishop Bian would dare to fight him. Snort. Don't think that I will lose to you. Bishop Silver roared. Who do you think you are? You are just a cult believer. No matter what you say, I will kill you and uproot your organization. Fang Ye mocked disdainfully. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 444. Bishop Bean's eyes were full of murderous intent, and the movements in his hands were getting faster and faster. At this time, his body slowly merged into the air and then disappeared. Invisible. Fang Ye frowned and looked around, trying to find Bishop Silver. But the next second, Bishop Bean appeared behind Fang Ye. Die! Bishop Silver shouted. The sharp sword in his hand stabbed Fang Ye in the back with a roaring sound. The sword was extremely fast, but Fang Ye was even faster. He turned around and smashed the long sword in Bishop Bean's hand with one punch, and the trend continued unabated, even piercing through the chest. I have already seen through your moves. Fang Ye said disdainfully. But the next moment, Fang Ye was stunned. After the silver bishop's body fell, he turned into an ordinary zombie. Then a point of light emitted from the body, suspended in mid-air, forming the shadow of the silver bishop. Haha, not bad Fang Ye, I didn't expect you to be quite strong. My clone is not your opponent yet, which really surprises me. Unfortunately, this body is too weak and can only exert less than half of my strength, but don't worry, I believe we will continue to meet. When the time comes, I will use my true body to fight you. By then, I hope you will be a little stronger than you are now. After Bishop Bean finished speaking, he disappeared. Possessed. Fang Ye frowned. He didn't expect that Bishop Bean, whom he had been fighting with for a long time, was just a clone. This made him secretly surprised by Bishop Silver's strength. I'm afraid the Silver Bishop is twice as powerful as the previous Red Bishop. It seems that this dark world is more dangerous than the world of death. Fang Ye sighed and looked back at Jota, the traitor to the cult. At this time, Chiaoda knew that Bishop Silver had been defeated, so how could he dare to continue here? It turned around and ran away, but how could Fang Ye and the Templars let it escape? Fang Ye snorted and punched Jota to the ground, while the Templars grabbed their spears and put them on Jota's on the neck. You traitor! You are a Templar, but you betrayed the order, and you should be punished accordingly. With that, the Templar saw the spear pierce Jota's heart. Jota looked at the Templar, the darkness in his eyes gradually dissipated, and he called out the Templar's name Cormac. It turned out to be you. Thank you for freeing me. I'm sorry for what I did. After saying this, Jota breathed his last and died. The Templar looked at Jota blankly, with a sad expression on his face. Jota was once my best friend, but unfortunately he betrayed us and turned to the darkness. Fang Ye advised, well, since he has been executed, you don't have to feel sad. This is in the past and we have to move on. Yes. The Silver Bishop and the Skeleton King are still alive. I must kill him. They are the ones who bewitched Jota. When the Templar said this, his eyes showed deep hatred, and then he said, I will never let them go. Fang Ye patted the Templar on the shoulder and said, you're right, I need you as my companion to go to the Skeleton King and the Silver Bishop to settle accounts together. After hearing Fang Ye's words, the Templars also came back to their senses. He took a deep breath, then nodded and said, okay, I promise you, I will fight side by side with you as your follower to fight against the forces of darkness. Fang Ye was overjoyed after hearing this, and finally accepted the Templars as his followers. In this way, I will have a helper. Without further ado, let's head to the 4th floor now, where I know a passage that can enter the royal tomb, and the Skeleton King is there. Fang Ye said. Okay, let's go defeat the Skeleton King together. Templar Knight Cormac nodded and agreed. In this way, the two passed through the 3rd floor passage and arrived at the 4th floor of the cathedral. This place is completely different from other places, it's like a maze. There are almost identical buildings everywhere and lots of skeleton soldiers and skeleton archers. It can be said that there is no other way except to eliminate these monsters step by step and carefully find the right passage. It is an extremely time-consuming place. However, Fanya had his own Templar followers this time, so the speed of clearing these skeleton soldiers and skeleton archers was greatly increased. So in just an hour's time, the two passed through the fourth floor of the cathedral and arrived at the royal tomb. That's where Skeleton King is. Be careful, Skeleton King is in there, Fanya said. Templar Knight Cormac nodded and said, I understand, there is a heavy dark atmosphere here. I feel that there seems to be a very powerful dark monster hidden in this tomb. I'm afraid that's the Skeleton King. Fanya nodded and said, yes, I also feel a danger, so this time we will defeat the Skeleton King's men in one fell swoop and let the Skeleton King be completely destroyed. The two of them said as they walked towards the passage where the Skeleton King was. In front of the Skeleton King's passage, Fanya felt an eerie smell. What a heavy resentment. It seems that this Skeleton King must have killed many people before. However, after such a long time, his resentment is still so strong, which is really a strange thing. Fanya secretly thought. He was sighing when suddenly a cold light shot towards him. That cold light looked very sharp, as if it contained endless power. Fanya quickly ducked to the side to avoid the attack of the cold light. And that cold light fell on the ground, and the entire floor suddenly collapsed. Fanya took a closer look and found that it turned out to be a sharp arrow. This arrow is made of a special metal and is full of various spikes. Once it is pierced by this arrow, it will probably break through the defense, even his spiritual barrier. Fanya looked up and saw countless skeleton archers standing in front of them. There were so many skeleton archers that they slowly lined up in 3 levels. The one at the front was half kneeling, and the 2 rows behind them were cut open one after another. 3 shots. These skeleton soldiers actually know the formation. Fanya was slightly surprised. He fought all the way over, and the skeleton soldiers and other dark creatures he saw were attacking based on instinct and did not understand any formations. I didn't expect to see it now. Hero, be careful. I clearly feel that these skeleton soldiers are extraordinary. Each of them is at least elite level. Templar Cormac said with a frown. Yeah. But for me, it doesn't matter who the opponent is, most of them can be solved with one punch anyway. After Fanya finished speaking, he immediately launched an attack on these skeleton soldiers. He just punched, and the powerful terrifying impact had already knocked all these skeleton soldiers away. Even the shields couldn't support them and they exploded. Fanya continued to charge forward. The Templar Knight Cormac followed closely behind Fanya, constantly casting spells to repel these skeleton soldiers. In less than a moment, the 2 of them had dealt with these skeleton soldiers and arrived at the door of the tomb where the Skeleton King was. There is a huge stone door here, and behind the door is the tomb of the Skeleton King. Fanya took a deep breath and slowly pushed the stone door open. The Skeleton King can be said to be the first dark boss he faced, far more powerful than Captain Dalton and the Plague King. So he couldn't help but become cautious. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 445. I saw the Skeleton King sitting on the throne, his eyes glowing with blue will-o'-the-wisps, looking at Fanya and the Templar Knights. Beside it are several skeleton guards, clutching Deckard Cain. Why are you 2 invading my territory? Why don't you kneel down to see your king? Skeleton King snapped. This surprised Fanya. In the original plot, King Leoric was a mad king, so he betrayed his family and was assassinated by his men. But looking at its current demeanor, there is no trace of madness at all. It even made Fanya feel very wise. Is this what it is? King Leoric. We're here to rescue Deckard Cain, the old man beside you. Fanya said. He was thinking that it would be best if he could successfully negotiate through words. No, he is just a knowledgeable person, and I need him to figure out some things, so I can't leave it to you. The Skeleton King shook his head and refused. What do you want him to figure out? Fanya asked curiously. Haha, power. The supreme power. I am not willing for my kingdom to be annihilated. I am willing for my people to turn into dust. I want to build an immortal army to conquer wherever I see. Rebuild my kingdom again. There was a hint of fanaticism in Skeleton King's eyes. Fanya was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect that the Skeleton King would still have such ambitions, even if he had become an undead monster. Are you crazy? If you do this, won't you kill many innocent people? Fanya asked. Haha, the end is near. All living creatures are destined to be terminated, and only I, King Leoric, the king of the immortal, can once again establish a kingdom and resist the end. You two are quite capable, so why not join me? I will grant you immortality and make you my general. How about one person being inferior to 10,000 people? The Skeleton King looked at Fanya and the Templar Knights with interest and said. Don't even think about it. I am a Templar, and I will never abandon the light and take refuge in the darkness. The Templar refused immediately. Fanya sneered twice and said, Stop thinking so much, I will not become an undead creature. Humph, you don't know how to praise. The Skeleton King snorted coldly. Since you don't accept my invitation, then you too can't even think of leaving here alive. When you die, I will transform you and make you undead. After saying that, the Skeleton King stood up with the tomb staff in his hand. Then, countless skeleton guards emerged from the surrounding shadows, surrounding Fanya and the Knights Templar. Be careful, hero, the undead here are extremely unusual. The Templar spoke. Fanya also discovered that the skeleton guards here were a little stronger than what they had seen before. The strong death was spreading around them, causing the temperature of the entire room to drop by 7 or 8 degrees. Don't worry, let me deal with them, you help me. After Fanya finished speaking, he rushed out. As soon as he grabbed it, a flaming sword appeared in his hand, and then slashed at a skeleton guard. The flaming sword split a trail of flames and burned the entire skeleton guard to ashes, but the remaining skeleton guards quickly pounced on him. Fanya kept dodging, but he did not panic, but was looking for flaws in the attacks of these skeleton guards. At this time, he suddenly saw the Skeleton King using the tomb staff to continuously summon the skeleton guards. This made Fanya curse secretly. They want to use these skeleton guards to kill me. Ho ho. The newly appeared skeleton guards roared together with the remaining ones, swarmed up, and rushed towards Fanya. Fanya waved the flaming sword while dodging the attack. Boom. The flaming sword collided with the skeleton warriors, and a loud noise broke out, blasting the skeleton warriors to pieces. But more skeleton guards were summoned and surrounded them densely. Fanya snorted coldly and used his fire power again. Ring of fire. I saw a huge red circle emerging from the flaming sword, spinning in mid-air. Fireballs fell from the red circle one after another, covering all the surrounding skeletons, and then exploded, blowing their bodies apart and turning into a pile of white bones scattered on the ground. What a bunch of rubbish! Fanya eliminated the skeleton warrior with one move and a smile appeared on his lips. Ho ho! The Skeleton King looked at the scene and was furious. He kept summoning these undead creatures and attacked Fanya. Fanya killed hundreds of skeleton warriors in a row, but the Skeleton King called more and more, so he had to dodge while continuing to use his fire powers to offset the attacks of these skeleton warriors. Moreover, there seems to be an endless supply of skeleton warriors here. Although Fanya didn't know how the Skeleton King did it, problems would arise sooner or later if this continued. Be careful, the skeleton warriors summoned by the Skeleton King are very powerful, don't underestimate them. The Templar reminded from the side. Fang Ye nodded, and then used another move. A super flame pillar that was as thick as a basin and 9 meters long spurted out from behind him, instantly swallowing up all the skeleton warriors around him. Ho ho! When the Skeleton King saw this, he snorted coldly, and his body disappeared instantly. A moment later, he was in front of Fang Ye, waving the ancient tomb staff in his hand and hitting his chest. Boom! Fang Ye used his flaming sword to take the move. I have to say that Skeleton King is indeed the first boss in Diablo. He is extremely powerful, but Fang Ye is even stronger. After he received the blow from Skeleton King, he turned the flaming sword in his hand and slashed at Skeleton King. But the Skeleton King was not afraid of Fang Ye's flames at all, and reached out to grab the flaming sword in his hand. Haha, yes, it seems that you are the second human being I have ever seen who can take my attack. I admire you very much. As long as you are willing to surrender to me, you will obtain immortality and I will grant you eternal life. The Skeleton King began to seduce Fang Ye. Just dream, even if I die here, I will never betray my country. Fang Ye snorted coldly. Okay, in that case, there's no need to be polite. You two should also stay and let this be your burial place. The Skeleton King shouted coldly. Suddenly the skeleton warrior's offensive became more fierce. But Fang Ye was not afraid at all. Although he was surrounded by the Skeleton King and his younger brothers, he was not at all disadvantaged. In terms of moves, he even slightly overpowered the Skeleton King. I have to say that although Skeleton King is powerful, his moves are always the same. Sweep, chop, carry. It can be said that the moves are extremely simple and crude, and they all rely on strength to crush the opponent. Fang Ye just looked at it once and already knew the flaws in Skeleton King's moves. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 446. He first used his skills to block the Skeleton King, and then got rid of the skeleton guards summoned by the Skeleton King. Soon, he eliminated these skeleton warriors. Fang Ye looked at the Skeleton King with a hint of joking in his eyes. Skeleton King saw the teasing look in his eyes and became furious. Whirlwind. The Skeleton King immediately used his special move, and saw a powerful hurricane around him. An invisible hurricane raged around him, making everything around him messy. Fang Ye also felt that his body seemed to have changed. It's a little unstable. Careful. This move is very powerful. The Templars were horrified when they saw Fang Ye being injured. I see. You stand down. I'll deal with him. Fang Ye shouted. This. The Templar hesitated for a moment, and finally listened to Fang Ye's words. After all, Skeleton King is the strongest boss in darkness, and his strength is very terrifying. He didn't want Fang Ye to be defeated because of himself. Ho ho, if you don't overestimate your capabilities, I will send you to hell today. The Skeleton King looked at Fang Ye in front of him and said coldly. Fang Ye smiled faintly, and then said, "Then give it a try." I saw the Skeleton King rushing towards Fang Ye. The surrounding hurricanes instantly possessed countless powerful death powers and rushed towards Fang Ye. Fang Ye snorted coldly and displayed his serious beating. Countless iron fists were punched out instantly, falling almost like raindrops on the Skeleton King. However, the dark power of the Skeleton King was blocked by Fang Ye's mental barrier and could not be corroded at all. A fatal blow. Fang Ye directly struck a fatal blow. The Skeleton King opened his mouth in shock and looked at his chest in disbelief. He saw that his chest had been punched through by Fang Ye's fist, and his dark power was gradually fading away. Impossible. How could I lose? Skeleton King shouted desperately. Haha, it's normal for you to lose. After all, although you are very strong, you are still no match for me, and I also dealt a fatal blow. It can be said that you are dead. Fang Ye pulled his arm back and said calmly. The Skeleton King opened his eyes wide and fell to the ground unwillingly, completely dead. What a glorious battle, hero. The Templar Knight walked over slowly and said to Fang Ye, I have to say that this was the most dangerous battle in his career, and he almost died in the hands of those skeleton soldiers. If Fang Ye hadn't killed the Skeleton King, he might have died. Fang Ye nodded. He hurriedly walked to Deckard Cain and said softly, Cain, I am Fang Ye. Your granddaughter Leah asked me to come. I saw Deckard Cain sitting on the ground, slowly raising his head, revealing his blue eyes. Leah. Fang Ye was taken aback. He couldn't help but take 2 steps back. He couldn't even believe his eyes. Deckard Cain has been transformed into an undead creature by Skeleton King. This surprised Fang Ye. Leah. My granddaughter? Ah, yes, I remembered. It's a pity that I'm like this, so I'm going to see him like this? Deckard Cain looked down at his hands. Those were hands that had been eroded by dark power and had almost turned into bones. I've become undead, how do I get to see my granddaughter? Young man, please kill me. I have become an undead creature and your enemy. Deckard Cain raised his head, looked at Fang Ye, and said desperately. Fang Ye was silent for a moment. To be honest, Deckard Cain also died in the end, but he died after restoring Tyrael's sword. Unexpectedly, because I came to the Dark World, things completely changed from the previous plot. Deckard Cain was transformed into an undead creature by Skeleton King. It can be said that Deckard Cain can still control himself now, but as time goes by, he will gradually lose his mind and turn into a crazy and bloodthirsty undead creature if he is not corroded by the dark power. Therefore, Fang Ye has yet to make up his mind whether to kill Deckard Cain or not. But Fang Ye knew that he must not hesitate. If he delayed for a while longer, Deckard Cain might lose control completely. Fang Ye took a deep breath and saluted Deckard Cain. I'm sorry, Grandpa Cain, you were captured by the Skeleton King to save Leah and turned into an undead creature. I absolutely can't watch you turn into a monster. I will rescue you, and when the time comes, Leah can be reunited with you. After Fang Ye finished speaking, his palm suddenly became illusory, and then a red rope appeared on his palm, tying up Deckard Cain. There was a trace of struggle on Deckard Cain's face, but his body could not move at all. What are you doing? Are you going to kill me? My sanity won't last long, and I might completely lose my mind in a while. By then, you will have harmed Leah and me. Deckard Cain shouted. Fang Ye didn't say anything, he directly activated the rope in his hand, then pulled hard, and immediately pulled Deckard Cain up. He reached out and grabbed Deckard Cain's head, using his telekinesis to begin hypnosis. No. Deckard Cain tried his best to break free from the rope, but his body was tightly bound and could not move at all. But with Fang Ye's hypnosis, Deckard Cain gradually fell into a deep sleep. Fang Ye looked at Deckard Cain, who was already asleep and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. What are you going to do? Hero. Templar Knight Cormac said doubtfully. Simple, find a way to restore Deckard Cain. I believe there must be a way to make Deckard Cain a normal human again. Fang Ye said. To be honest, he didn't really know what he was thinking, but there was someone right in front of him who could answer the whole question. That's Tyrael. He is the righteous angel in heaven, one of the 5 great angels. Fang Ye believes that he will definitely find a way to save Deckard Cain, even now he is only a mortal. Thinking of this, Fang Ye looked at King Leoric's throne. The Skeleton King's throne gradually retreated, revealing a secret passage. And Tyrael, the angel of justice, is in this secret room. Let's enter the entire secret room. There is someone there who may be able to answer our questions. Fang Ye said. I understand, then leave him to me. I will protect him until I find a way. The Templar spoke. He carried Deckard Cain on his back and followed Fang Ye. Fang Ye took him into the secret room. All he saw was a huge pit in front of him, and there was another person in the pit. Hero, look, there is someone here? Could this be where the meteorite fell? Is the meteorite actually him? The Templar said in surprise. You're right, it's him, but he's in a coma now, so we have to save him first. Fang Ye said. After saying that, he walked towards the crater. But just after taking a few steps, I saw a shaking in the void, and a witch appeared from mid-air. Stop! Stop! I discovered this first. So this man and his treasures belong to me. The whole witch was seen floating in the air with her bare feet, and the butterfly wings behind her were flapping rapidly. Her appearance was exquisite and beautiful, and she looked extremely charming. Magdan. Fang Ye said with a frown. You know me? It's really strange, stranger, we must have never met before, right? Magdan said in surprise. Fang Ye's mouth twitched slightly, and he said in his heart, I've seen it a long time ago. In the game, I killed you every time I saw you. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 447. Yes, we have not met, but I know you. Fang Ye said with a sneer. You are the leader of the true god religion, an evil witch, and a person who serves the three demon gods. Geez, you know quite a lot about it. I have to say that you look quite handsome. If you agree to be my servant, I can give you great power. How about that? Magdan carefully measured the lower karma, then covered his mouth and chuckled. Huh, witch, don't use your sweet words to seduce people. I won't accept your trick. Now that you've fallen into my hands, don't blame me for being rude. After saying that, Fang Ye rushed towards Magdan. Magdan's eyes narrowed to a slit, a strange smile appeared on her face, her body swayed, and she disappeared from the place. A moment later, her figure also appeared not far away. He actually dodged Fang Ye's attack easily. How can this be? Fang Ye's eyes widened and he was slightly surprised. Because Magdan disappeared just now, even he didn't see how she did it. I am not an ordinary human being. There is a wonderful power hidden in my body. They can help me move quickly. After Magdan finished speaking, he disappeared from the place again. This time Fang Ye clearly saw how she disappeared, it was almost like a ghost. Magdan suddenly appeared in front of Fang Ye, stretched out his hand and poured out a lot of black aura, and then restrained Fang Ye's body. Haha, you'd better just be obedient now. Magatan laughed wildly on the side. The Templar Knight on the side also wanted to come over, but was still controlled by Magdan with one move. Boy, now that you are in my hands, what else do you have to say? Magdan chuckled. Fall into your hands? Don't be happy too early. Fang Ye snorted coldly, and with a little effort, the dark aura entangled in his body instantly dispersed, and he couldn't even hold on for a second. What? Garten was startled. At this time, Fang Ye reached out and grabbed her. Ah! Magdan yelled and took a few steps back. At this time, only a loud bang was heard. Magdan's back was suddenly hit hard by a huge force. His body trembled, and then his whole body flew into the air and hit the ground heavily. Fang Ye also took this opportunity to free himself, and then walked towards Magdan who fell on the ground. Damn it, you could break my spell. Magdan climbed up, an expression of disbelief on his face. Although magic was her specialty, she was not sure that she could kill the enemy in a short time. Such a result was unexpected. Humph, no matter how powerful you are still no match for me. Fang Ye sneered, and then burst out with tyrannical power. How do you have such great power? Magdan's eyes widened in horror, unable to believe what he heard and saw. The man in front of me is comparable to the devil from hell. Yes, so you are destined to die here today. Fang Ye sneered. Snored. I won't lose to you. Magdan gritted her teeth and roared, then waved her hands again. Magic continuously poured out of her hands, forming strong air currents, and condensed into dozens of huge spiders in front of her, and they rushed toward Fang Ye in a dense manner. Come over. These giant spiders are very large, 5 or 6 meters long. Each one has its mouth wide open, and its sharp claws are covered with sharp nails, shining with a faint blue light. Humph, is this childish thing worthy of showing off in front of me? Fang Ye sneered, stretched out his hand and pushed forward, and a ball of white flame suddenly appeared in front of him. Then, the white flame suddenly swelled and spread quickly, swallowing up all the spiders in the blink of an eye. How is this possible, you? Magdan was shocked when he saw the scene in front of him. This is her unique skill, and its power is endless. Even elite-level demons may not be able to resist so easily. And the person in front of her could easily resist her stunts. What was going on? Is this your last move? What a disappointment. Fang Ye looked at Magdan indifferently. Magdan felt something in her heart. She knew that the person in front of her was beyond her ability to handle. In an instant, she decided to escape from here quickly. Snored. However, before Magdan could take a step forward, Fang Ye laughed contemptuously. A burst of intense white light suddenly emanated from his body, and then, Fang Ye disappeared on the spot. The next moment, he appeared in front of Magdan, raised his hand and punched out. Bang! Magdan was punched again and sent flying. Fang Ye's body appeared in front of Magdan again, and then punched out again. Bang bang bang. Each punch hit Magdan's body hard, knocking Magdan away again. Ah! Magdan screamed and kept flying backwards. She really didn't expect that she would lose so miserably. She originally thought that with her unique skills and strength, she could easily kill Fang Ye. Who would have thought that this person was not afraid of her magic at all? No, you can't kill me. At this moment, Magdan suddenly realized the danger and immediately shouted. Do you think you can stop me? Fang Ye asked with a sneer. I will exchange a secret with you. Magdan gritted his teeth and spoke. Secret? Fang Ye frowned slightly. Good. There are secrets about hell. The ones who rule hell now are not 3 demon gods, but a mysterious organization. I found out about it after a lot of hard work. And I also found out a lot of things. Magdan said hurriedly. Fang Ye was moved in his heart and shouted hurriedly, say it quickly. If the information you give me is satisfactory, I can naturally let you go. Magdan breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that the whole secret had touched Fang Ye. From the beginning, she felt that Fang Ye was very similar to the people in that organization, and they both had an aura that did not belong to the entire world. Well, that mysterious organization is called the Agents of Gods, and hell is now ruled by them. The only 2 remaining demon gods have surrendered to that organization. However, there are also many hell demons who disobey them, some escape to the human world, and some resist in hell. As far as I know, they have now sent a search team to find a woman. It is said that this is the highest order issued by Bishop Silver, the highest person in charge of the Agent of the Gods. Magdan spoke out in one breath in order to survive. Well, Agents of the Gods actually already rule hell, no wonder they are sent into the real world. Could that woman be Leah? Fang Ye frowned and guessed secretly. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 448. Now that I've finished speaking, can you let me go? Magatan asked hastily. Huh, you know what's going on, go away. Fang Ye said with a cold snort. Thank you, thank you. As if he had been granted amnesty, Magden ran backwards in a hurry and disappeared from Fanye's sight in the blink of an eye. Watching Magden disappear from his sight, Fanye had a sneer on his face. He was originally going to kill Magden, but now that hell is ruled by the agents of gods, he has to prepare a backup plan. Although Magden is a bit weak, her brain is better than that of ordinary demons. Keeping her may be useful later. Fanye looked back at Tyrell in the crater. At this time, he was still unconscious, and there was a short sword beside him. Fanye walked closer and began to wake up the Archangel of Justice in front of him. "Wake up, wake up." Fanye called several times in succession, but unfortunately there was still no movement from Tyrell. "Is he really dead?" Fanye frowned. "Tyrell, are you still alive, Tyrell?" Fanye squatted down and continued shouting. Tyrell's body suddenly twitched a few times, and then slowly opened his eyes. "Tyrell, how are you feeling?" Fanye asked. "Where is this place?" Tyrell struggled to sit up and asked blankly. "I just saved you," Fanye said. "Thank you," Tyrell said gratefully. "Do you still remember who you are?" Fanye asked. Tyrell shook his head. He covered his head in pain and said, I can't remember anything, my head hurts." Looking at Tyrell's look, Fanye already knew. Tyrell is exactly the same as the plot, becoming immortal and losing his memory. It seems that only by recasting the sword can Tyrell regain his memory. Fanye looked around and found that there were 2 fragments here, and one was missing. "Forget it, let's go back first." Fanye reached out and grabbed Tyrell, then asked the Templars to follow him back to the Cow Slaughter Inn. In the Cow Slaughter Hotel, Fanye meditated secretly in the room. Now the dark plot is proceeding in an orderly manner, but some things have been shot out of the original plot track. Although Tyrell and Deckard Cain have now been rescued and Cain's diary has been obtained, Deckard Cain has become an undead creature, and Tyrell is still amnesiac. It can be said that from beginning to end, progress is still very slow. But no matter what, now we have to exchange Cain's diary for Leah, let Tyrell restore his memory, and find a way to turn Deckard Cain into a normal person. Although things are like a mess, they must be solved one by one. So Fanye waited patiently for Adelia. As long as she appears and trades Leah to him, he can go find Tyrell's sword fragments and reforge the sword. But now Fanye has been waiting for 3 full days, but there is still no news about Adelia. Could it be that she was deceived? Fanye frowned. It must be said that Adelia is a very cunning person. She can spend more than 10 years planning her plan. It can be said that this is a scheming and very difficult opponent. Fanye had to take it seriously. While Fanye was meditating secretly, a paper crane suddenly flew out of the window. The paper crane was very small. It flapped its wings and flew into Fanye's hand. "There are words." Fanye hurriedly opened the paper crane and saw Adelia's message written inside. "Fanye, I already know that you got Cain's diary. If you want to switch back to Leah, then bring Cain's diary and come to the royal tomb." After Fanye read it, he rubbed his hands together. The paper crane was instantly enveloped in flames and turned into ashes. Tune the tiger away from the mountain? House of Flying Daggers? Fanye frowned. To be honest, he didn't expect that the place where Adelia would meet would be the Skeleton King's tomb. That place was some distance away from the Cow Slaughter Inn. If Guo Fanye left, the current Templars alone were no match for her. Fanye also felt a little hesitant for a moment. After all, this is an extremely dangerous place, and he is not sure whether Adelia will kill Tyrell. If she really takes action, with Tyrell's strength, how can he be her opponent? No, I have to go get Leah back. What if she uses Leah as Diavolo's vessel again? Fanye thought about it carefully and made up his mind. But Tyrell has to be on guard here, and it seems he has to find a safe place. But where is safer? Fanye frowned. After thinking for a long time, Fang Ye couldn't think of a suitable place. Finally, he decided to ask the locals to see if there was any good way. First he looked for Captain Rumford. But after Captain Rumford heard this, he shook his head and said to Fang Ye, "A safe place? Where is the safe place? Look, there are zombies and skeletons everywhere, countless. This is hell. There is no safe place. No." Fang Ye immediately turned around and looked for someone else. But without exception, they don't even know there is any safe place here. In the end, it was the blacksmith who told Fang Ye, "I know a place that is very hidden and very close to where most people can't find it." After Fang Ye heard this, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. "What exactly is this place?" Fang Ye asked hurriedly. "It was a secret room where I once kept my undead wife, thinking that one day I would return to her original form." He glanced at Deckard Cain behind the Templars. "I have actually discovered that old man Cain has also transformed into an undead creature, and I also understand that you have a way to save him, so I will provide the entire venue, but I hope that after you get the method, you can also save my wife." The blacksmith spoke. Fang Ye nodded. "No problem, but they must be hidden and must not let the news leak out." "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." The blacksmith patted his chest and assured. "In that case, without further ado, let's go to that cellar now." Fang Ye said. "Okay, I'll lead the way." After the blacksmith finished speaking, he took Fang Ye and the others to the mountain behind the village. Sure enough, there was a very remote house somewhere that looked very dilapidated. Everything around was empty, not even an undead creature. The blacksmith skillfully opened the door and walked in. He gently moved the wardrobe to reveal a cellar. "Right here, come with me." After saying that, the blacksmith entered the cellar, and Fang Ye followed closely behind. The passage inside is very narrow, but as you walk inside, the place becomes wider. After walking for about 5 or 6 minutes, we came to a basement. There were lights everywhere inside, and in an iron cage, there was a female zombie. Her hands and feet were chained and she couldn't move at all. Fang Ye knew that this was the blacksmith's wife, an undead creature that had become a zombie. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 449. This is it, don't worry, she is chained and can't get out. The blacksmith saw everyone looking at his wife in horror and immediately explained. Fang Ye nodded. To be honest, he admired the blacksmith. In a world where darkness reigned, even though his wife turned into a dark creature, he still found a way to resurrect her. This sentiment is truly admirable. I can rest assured that. Cormac, I leave the rest to you. I hope you can protect this place well. Fang Ye turned his head and said to the Templars. Don't worry, hero. As long as I still have breath, I will never let any accidents happen to them. Fang Ye patted the Templar knight on the shoulder, then turned and left. He must exchange Cain's diary for Leah, but if Adelia plays tricks on him, then he doesn't mind killing her. In this way, Fang Ye went to the cathedral alone again and entered the royal tomb to exchange with Adelia. Since the cathedral was thoroughly cleaned by Fang Ye, the dark creatures here have long since disappeared. There wasn't even a shadow, everything was quiet. Fang Ye walked down the road, walked through the passage, opened the door to the royal tomb, and entered inside. Sure enough, Adelia and Leah are here. But what surprised Fang Ye was that the skeleton king who was originally killed came back to life. It stood behind Adelia, its face a little dull, and it looked like a puppet. Fang Ye. When Leah saw Fang Ye, she couldn't help but scream. Fang Ye looked at Leah with a smile on his face. Don't worry Leah, I will definitely change you back. Fang Ye assured. Haha, Fang Ye, your name is a bit strange. Without further ado, have you brought Kane's diary? Adelia looked at Fang Ye, but her hands grabbed Leah's neck. As long as Fang Ye did anything extraordinary, she would kill her daughter Leah immediately. Certainly. Fang Ye took out Kane's diary and showed it to Adelia. Good. It's indeed Kane's diary. Fang Ye, as long as you give it to me, I will return Leah to you. Adelia said happily. Yes, but you need to get Leah over first. You are too insidious, I can't trust you. Fang Ye said. Geez, boy, is it possible that you want to rescue Leah and then take the opportunity to escape with Kane's diary? No. Give me Kane's diary first. Adelia shook her head decisively and said. No, what if you took Kane's diary and regretted not returning it to Leah? Fang Ye also refused to give in at all. Boy, I didn't expect you to disbelieve me so much. Anyway, put Kane's diary on the ground and take 10 steps back. I asked King Leoric to take Leah there. How about taking Kane's diary and releasing Leah at the same time? Adelia said as she made a suggestion. Good. If that's the case, then I agree. Fang Ye said. After he finished speaking, he saw Kane's diary placed on the ground, and then took 10 steps back. King Leoric, go get Kane's diary back from me. Adelia ordered. I saw Skeleton King grabbing Leah and walking towards Kane's diary. It walked to Kane's diary, let go of Leah, and then reached out to grab Kane's diary. When Leah ran to Fang Ye, Skeleton King also brought the book of Kane to Adelia. Haha, it's indeed Kane's diary. I finally got it. Very good. I will fulfill my own wish and let the 3 demon gods, wrong. Why is this book empty? Adelia, who was originally overjoyed, was surprised. She clearly saw that the appearance of the book did indeed look like Kane's diary, but it was empty inside, with only a stone of similar size placed inside. Damn it! You cunning boy, how dare you lie to me? Adelia said angrily. Humph, don't even think about it, how could I give you Kane's diary? Fang Ye said mockingly. Skeleton King. Catch these 2 people, I will tear the whole boy into pieces. Adelia said angrily. I saw the Skeleton King striding forward obediently, and slammed the ancient tomb staff in his hand towards Fang Ye. Humph, so what if you resurrect the Skeleton King? It is no match for me at all. After saying that, Fang Ye punched the Skeleton King fiercely. Bang! The 2 powerful forces collided together, making a violent sound. Fang Ye's fist and Skeleton King's tomb staff collided with each other, and then Skeleton King's skeleton was scattered by Fang Ye. Skeleton King, what are you still doing? Come on quickly and cut Fang Ye into pieces. Adelia suddenly panicked when she saw that the Skeleton King was knocked back by Fang Ye's punch. Roar! The Skeleton King heard his master's words, roared, and then rushed towards Fang Ye. At this time, Fang Ye kicked him out. The Skeleton King was kicked out and landed on the ground, making a wailing sound. How is this possible? Are you so powerful? Looking at her pet, Adelia was a little dumbfounded. She knew the strength of Skeleton King very well. In order to resist Fang Ye, she even gave Skeleton King a lot of dark power. But I didn't expect that the Skeleton King would still be defeated by Fang Ye. For a moment, Adelia's face was uncertain, and she didn't know what to do. Ha 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 ha, Adelia, you sometimes make miscalculations. I have prepared this plan a long time ago. I will definitely kill you today. Fang Ye snorted coldly and rushed towards Adelia. He rubbed his hands together, grabbed a huge flaming sword in his hand, and slashed at Adelia fiercely. Adelia panicked a little, and she shouted desperately, Skeleton King! Quick, stop him! The Skeleton King on the ground struggled to stand up, and immediately stood in front of his master, trying to stop Fang Ye. Huh, what a trivial skill! Fanya snorted coldly, turned around, and struck the Skeleton King fiercely with the flaming sword in his hand. The Skeleton King couldn't stop Fanya at all, and the huge force made him fall to the ground instantly. Fanya took action again, slashing at Adelia with the flaming sword. Adelia kept dodging, but the more she hid, the more fierce Fanya's offensive became, almost forcing Adelia to have nowhere to hide. Don't want. I was wrong. Isn't it okay that I was wrong? For the sake of my current status as Leah, please let me go. Adelia shouted. Only now did she realize that she had underestimated Fanya's strength. This young man's strength was much higher than she had imagined. If he delays it any longer, he might really be killed by Fanya. Late. Fanya looked at Adelia, his eyes filled with cold murderous intent. He must kill Adelia. For this person, there is no mercy at all. Even his own daughter can be sacrificed. Is there anything else that she can't do? Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 450. When Adelia saw this, a cruel look flashed in her eyes, and then she suddenly opened her mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. This mouthful of blood was also mixed with a large amount of corrosive poison. Snort. Fanya just turned sideways to avoid the deadly venom. Although this venom is terrifying, it poses no threat to Fanya at all. It is impossible for these toxins to harm him. Damn it! Adelia's expression changed after she saw that her poison had no effect on Fang Karma. When she still wanted to cast the spell, Fanya's flaming sword had already struck down hard. The flaming sword contained powerful power, which made Adelia's face turn pale. She knew that she couldn't dodge this blow, and she was going to die as a swordsman in Fanya. Stop! At this time, Lai rushed over and stopped Fanya. Please, don't kill my mother. Although I know she is bad, she is my current one after all, so I beg you to let her go. Leah shouted with tears in her eyes. Fanya looked at Leah and sighed. The flaming sword raised in mid-air could not cut anything. Since your daughter begs for mercy like this, I will spare you this time. If I do anything evil next time I see you, then don't blame me for being rude. Fanya looked at Adelia and said coldly. Thank you. Leah said gratefully to Fanya. Why don't you get out? Fanya said coldly to Adelia and Skeleton King. Adelia couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when she saw that she finally had her life. Without saying a word, she left the royal tomb with her pet Skeleton King. Leah, let's go too. I've rescued your uncle, but there's something wrong with his condition. Fanya said to Leah. What? What's up with him? Leah suddenly asked nervously. You'll know when you go there. Fanya sighed. Things here were over, so Fanya took Leah back to the blacksmith's basement. Grandpa Kane. Leah couldn't help but be overjoyed when she saw Deckard Kane. She ran quickly, but she couldn't help but stop halfway. Grandpa, what's wrong with you? How do you? Only then did Leah realize that Deckard Kane had become an undead creature. Good boy, you are finally here. Deckard Kane looked at Leah with relief and said with a smile. Grandpa, who turned you into this? I can't spare him. Leah gritted her teeth and said. It's okay, kid, there's no use saying this, as long as you're still alive. Actually this is not bad, it gives me a lot of time to write. Deckard Kane said with a smile. But everyone knows that these are just words to comfort Leah. After all, she has become an undead creature and will eventually be driven crazy by the dark power in her body. Grandpa, you are lying to me again. Leah said, wiping away her tears. Don't worry, Leah. I might be able to save your grandpa, but it will take some time. Fanya said. He didn't say anything to death, after all, he didn't know if Tyrell could do anything about it. But his intuition told him that there must be something. After all, Tyrell was the Archangel of Justice. Leah nodded and said, "Okay, thank you then, Fang Ye." "You are welcome," Fang Ye said. "So what do we do now?" Templar Cormac asked. "It's very simple, just wait until I find the fragments of this guy's sword," Fang Ye said immediately. "So where should we find the fragment?" Everyone was a little confused. "Don't worry, I know it's in the goat-headed monster's lair in the wilderness of misery. You guys can rest here and I can take out your things by myself. As long as we obtain the sword fragments, we can recast the sword and restore this angel's memory." Fang Ye looked at Tyrell and said, "Angel? You say he is an angel?" Everyone was shocked. "Well, that's right. It's getting late, I have to hurry up, otherwise I'm afraid there will be an accident, and you are here." Fang Ye was about to leave after finishing speaking. Leah jumped up, "I'll go with you." "No, Leah, you have to stay here to accompany your grandfather." "Don't worry, you know my strength." Fang Ye shook his head and said. Leah also knew that Fang Ye was very powerful. When she saw what Fang Ye said, she had no choice but to nod her head in agreement. "Okay, then you must be careful. Do not worry." After Fang Ye finished speaking, he left the blacksmith's basement again. He had visited goat-headed monster lairs countless times before and knew the monsters inside well. It can be said that those monsters are very weak, and the witch Magadan originally appeared somewhere. But now that the witch has been scared away by him, she still dares to stay there? It can be said that I will definitely be foolproof this time. Thinking of this, Fang Ye speeded up. On the one hand, he didn't know how long Deckard Cain could last, and on the other hand, he was worried that something would happen to them. So Fang Ye was prepared to know the sword fragments quickly and return immediately. The goat-headed monster's lair is somewhere in the wilderness of misery. You just need to follow the road. Most of the monsters there are sheep-headed monsters from the Moon Clan, as well as some giant wood ghosts and cultists. These dark creatures are very weak, so Fang Ye has no worries. The only thing he is worried about now is whether there will be any accidents with the sword fragments in the cave. After all, the sword fragments fell like meteors, and it was impossible not to attract attention. After arriving in the wilderness of misery, facing the densely packed goat-headed monsters, Fang Ye didn't hold back at all. He immediately used his firepower and killed him instantly. The bodies of the sheep-headed monsters immediately burned with blazing fire. They kept wailing and then fell to the ground. Fang Ye continued to walk inside. Roar! At this time, a goat-headed monster suddenly stood up from the grass and faced the direction. Roaring angrily, he immediately rushed towards Fang Ye. Seeing the goat-headed monster charging towards him, Fang Ye curled his lips in disdain. The IQ of this sheep-headed monster is so low that it has no idea how strong it is, yet it actually voluntarily sacrifices itself to death. Fang Ye clenched his right fist, and then blasted out at the goat-headed monster. Boom! The goat-headed monster was immediately reduced to a pulp by Fang Ye. But more goat-headed monsters surrounded them. Fang Ye snorted coldly and started killing them. I saw his firepower continuously spurting out, and then turned into flames all over the sky, covering the entire area. In an instant, this place became a purgatory-like scene. In the screams, countless sheep-headed monsters were reduced to ashes. But at this time, another group of goat-headed monsters rushed up. These goat-headed monsters did not seem to be afraid. Not only were they not afraid of being burned, but they became more and more courageous as they fought. I really don't know whether to live or die. Fang Ye smiled coldly. Since you want to die, I will send you on your way.